video on something that I want to have a faff around with. Surprise, surprise. So, I did something, I deep fried some leftover pasta bake, and it was a success. And I was kind of quite shocked that I put white sauce on top and cheese on top of the pasta bake. And I was surprised that after I flour, egged and breadcrumbed it, the bechamel sauce on top didn't re-melt and kind of go gooey as such. And then I remembered when I was in France, we stayed at a student's house. I went to through college. I went to France to there was a French culinary school that we were kind of twinned with, and we'd go and stay with them, and they'd come and stay with us. So I stayed in this family's home, and one night their son, who was my pen pal, whatever, cooked, and it was a bit of a disaster. But he did squares of a thick bechamel sauce, squares of them. It was cold, so he made the bechamel sauce, let it go cold, so it solidified, and then flour, egg, and breadcrumb it. I ate it because I was really hungry. The family kind of really didn't like it at all, so they didn't eat it, and it was a bit of a disaster. I think. I was really hungry, and ate it because I was hungry, and also out of politeness, they weren't so polite about his food. So I kind of think to myself, it's always stuck in the back of my mind. So with that, we're doing the pasta bake. I kind of thought, well, we'll have a go, and maybe it was just the fact that he wasn't very good, or he hadn't learned how to be a good cook yet. So that might have been the reason, or it might not have just been a particularly very nice thing to eat. But anyway, I'm going to have a go, and we're going to do it 3 ways. I think 3 ways. So we're gonna make a white wine sauce. No, we're gonna make just plain bechamel sauce, but I'm gonna put a stock cube in it just for a little bit of flavour. So this is 500 milliliters of full fat milk, and then we're gonna season it. We'll season it with some pepper, and then we're gonna thicken it with some Béchamel. Probably would have been better with white pepper, but anyway, not to worry. Then we're gonna thicken it with Béchamel. So this is 1 part fat to 2 parts flour, so it needs to be extra thick. So I need to kind of calculate how much. So if I do it on camera, then I'll know what kind of weights are involved. So in that container, there is, I've got milliliters. There's 388 grams. So we'll know how much of that mixture will thicken that amount of liquid if we do this correctly, because I'll be able to weigh that tub again and then do it off. And then so we'll do make a bechamel sauce, get it nice and thick, and then we'll take half the bechamel sauce, and we'll just let that go cold, and then the other half we'll mix in some hard Italian cheese. It's that, whatever it is. I'm not very good at pronouncing things. I'm a little bit dyslexic, to be honest. You must be able to be a little bit dyslexic. There must be a spectrum of dyslexia. Yeah, and I'm just a little bit with new words or pronouncing things. Even worse in other languages. So we'll do half of that with cheese, half of that plain. That'll be kind of quite interesting. And then I kind of thought, well, what we'll do as well is we'll do a white wine sauce version. So instead of making it with milk, we'll make it with cream, and we'll put an onion in there for extra kind of flavour, and then we'll put some white wine in there as well. Now we're obviously going to use cream because some of the mixture will be made with the wine. So we want still a rich and luxurious sauce, but we'll just use that. So it's just cheap wine, and it's just some leftover cream that I've got. So we'll do a white wine version as well and see if that kind of works. So turn that down a bit, and then. So it wants to be a lot thicker than usual. So, so I'm using Béchamel, but it would just be a case of making a roux and then thickening up the milk with a roux. It's just that I always have Béchamel in the house because it's just an easy way of thickening sauces. I've made a recipe on it. I did a video on it. It'll be somewhere, probably under sauces, if anybody ever is interested in watching a video of me faffing around making a Béchamel. But it's just a useful thing to have, and it saves buying those thickening granules that you can buy in a tub, and it's a lot cheaper as well, and nicer. And what are those thickening granules made out of? You know, this will keep in the fridge for 6 months, easy peasy. You know, those thickening granules stay in the cupboard, but I'm not entirely sure what they are. There will be probably some hydrogenated vegetable fat in there, which you kind of don't want. Do they still make it that way? I don't know. But they were trying to stop it, weren't they? So it's going to take quite a lot of flour to get this thick. But it needs to be really thick, because it needs to set solid. And then I need some kind of container, don't I? So we'll be back when this is actually thick. Right, so that is really thick. So how much ammonia have we used? There is now 268 grams of that. So about 110 grams? 110 grams? And you can see how thick it is. So you can see how thick this is. Really overly thick. So that's going to set really solid. Turn the heat off so it's not cooking anymore. Now, let's roughly take half of that and put it in a container to set. So we've got a little margarine tub, which I think will do the job, and then a spatula to create more washing up for myself. Let's put that in the other margarine container so I'm not making a mess everywhere. And then, we didn't need a spoon, did we? The spoon can go in the washing up, and then we'll add some cheese as well. So, what do I reckon half is? About that much. Well, I'm not that bothered if it's not exactly half. Oh, making a bit of a mess. I suppose I should have looked at what actual recipe the lad was trying to make. No, it's okay. If it's a little bit too deep, we can do fingers rather than. Yeah, that's fine. We can do fingers of sauce. I know what I'm talking about. I'm just thinking my way through things as always. So then, it still will be hot enough. This cheese is a little bit dried out, but it'll be fine. So then we want the cheesy version, because cheese might have been the missing element. You know, it was kind of what he made was just a bit bland. Just a bit bland. His parents weren't very kind about it. But you know, it was just the way. It's not just French people have a reputation. They're a certain way with themselves as well. It's not just with everyone else. It's how they treat each other as well. I found when I was in France. Mind you, that was just my personal experience. What can you say? My personal experience is not everyone's personal experience, is it? How's that taste? Finger? Let's make it really cheesy. I don't know how much I put in. I didn't wait, did I? Just make it really cheesy. Just make it really cheesy. Not that bothered if it doesn't melt in properly, because bits of cheese in it will be nice. That'll be cheesy enough, so that can go. I'm trying to not make a mess. So this can go in the other one. We'll know which is which. Still nice and thin. I mean, it's overly thick, which is what you want, and then it's going to set really solid. Now, so we're going to do the same with the cream and the white wine and the onion. So essentially how I make a white wine sauce. So that'll be kind of quite interesting. So I'll show you that. I think I've done it before. I can't remember. Now that's going to be lovely and thick as that one. Yeah. So if it's a little bit, no, because we can just cut it down the container. If it's a little bit too deep, we can just trim it down to what size we want. So that can go in the fridge, cool down, set solid, and then let's make a white wine sauce. So you don't need see, but we'll use half that onion. We'll cook the onion down in some white wine, and then we'll boil up some cream, add those together, puree it all together, and then we'll thicken it with the Romanier. So we'll do, I'll try and do a proper recipe for it as well. 50 grams worth of onion, that's about 60 grams, between 50 and 60 grams worth of onions, 200 grams worth of white wine. It's cheap stuff. So some chefs would say, or some people would say, don't use a wine in a sauce that you wouldn't drink. Not that you're drinking the sauce, but like don't use a sauce. Don't use a sauce in a don't use a sauce. Don't use a wine in a sauce that you wouldn't be happy to drink out of the glass. Debatable, that one for me, because I kind of think to myself, budget-wise, it's all very generous, kind of saying those type of things, but you're not always cooking for people who can afford. You know, they want to pay less for meals, so that kind of rule of thumb kind of goes out the window, and there's nothing wrong with that. I wouldn't drink it, to be honest, but we're cooking with it, you know. And then we're going to put in a stock cube there as well. So the idea is that we cook the onion in the wine, and then we're going to add the cream and puree it, and then we'll kind of thicken the sauce. And how thick we do the sauce is dependent on how. So we'll get to a stage with it when it's a sauce consistency, but I'm going to take it further than that, and then just to double check how much its weight is in this Romanier, and then we kind of know 268 grams. So, and then we'll know, and then there's 600, and then there's 600 milliliters. Yeah, 600 milliliters of double cream, which will be about right. So gently poach the onion in there to soften it, so it will puree down, and some of the liquid will evaporate off, which is fine, because we're using double cream instead of using milk, because we're going to want the richness. So we're actually diluting the cream, because there's wine in there. So whereas before we just used whole milk, but we weren't diluting the milk with anything. So we've got that a creaminess from the milk, a richness from the milk. If we were to use milk in this, it would just taste like a more watered down version of milk, which is not what we want. That's why we're using double cream. We could use half milk, half cream, but I've got double cream, and I need to use it up. So we might as well use it. So cook those until they're nice and soft, gentle heat, lid on, we don't want too much evaporation, and then we'll add the double cream. Right, been thinking about this, I might not add all this cream. Let's add half of it, ish. Let's weigh it first and we know what we're doing. I have to do the weighing off camera because my board's not flat, so we need to change it to milliliters. Okay, so let's put half in, so I want that 300. What's that? A bit more. A bit more. Right, so that's about 300 milliliters. Where's my whisk? There it is. Now, bring this up to temperature and then we'll taste it. and it might need a little bit more seasoning. But this is basically how you make a white wine sauce. Well, how I make a white wine sauce. You don't have to use Béchamel. You can use those thickening granules, or the ones that make a white wine, the ones that make a white sauce. So the ones where you just boil milk and then pour in the granules and thicken it up. What you can do is you can just, instead of using just milk, you can use a said quantity of a mixture of cream and white wine to make a white wine sauce. You know, if you were to just add the wine to milk, it would taste watery. Because you're using the cream, you're getting a richness from that. You don't need to add the onion. It's just an extra bit of flavour. But food is not really about one thing you do to a dish. It's normally 10 little things that you do to a dish that make it just that little bit extra special. You know, like you won't be able to tell if there's any onion in the sauce. And if you left it out, it wouldn't make that much of a difference. But making noises. But using the cheap wine compared to expensive wine, you're not really going to tell that much difference. But if you're doing 10 little things like you putting cream in instead of milk, or putting more cream in than the milk, you're using butter in your beurre manier, you're using a better quality white wine, you're using a chicken stock cube in there as well. You know, the better quality wine. You know, those little things make a world of difference when you've in a dish. When you've in the end, you know, you can miss one or two of those little things out, but it's the difference between really good food and an okay food. Just those little things that you do. You know, of course you can buy the best quality bit of meat, but you're still going to have a really nice sauce with it. So we'll taste it. I won't dip my finger in. I'll use a spoon and create some washing up. See, that's lovely just as it is. That's lovely just as it is. So that's about right. We don't want any more cream. I'll use that cream up in something else. I'll give it back in the fridge. And then we'll puree this down because we don't want lumps in it. Well, we don't want lumps of onion. We want it to be nice and smooth. So we'll pure it up before we thicken it up. Now, to thin a sauce down a little bit, it sometimes helps to, if you take a sauce a little bit too far and you add a little bit too much thickening to it, what you can do is you can put a stick blender in it, and it thins it down a little bit. But we don't want to do that once we've added the beurre manier and thickened it up with that. We want it to stay quite rigid and thick when it's set. We don't want it to be thinner. So puree it now. Which this is, I mean, the sauce was a little bit thick before we did this, but we're now now watering the sauce down because we're releasing the liquid that's in the onion, if that makes sense. Right, so that's nice and smooth. We've still got the temperature, we've still got the gas on, so we can now start to add some, turn the temperature up a little bit, we can add some beurre manier, thicken it up, and we'll take it to a sauce consistency. So we'll do this way again. And put some cakes in the oven that smell like they're almost ready as well. Try to do 2 things at once. Well, 3 things, because I'm making a video as well, aren't I? So there's 267 grams in there. So about that much. This I'm showing you how to make a white wine sauce as well. About that much. See how thick that gets it. You know, as always, you know, we can always add a little bit more. Very difficult to take it out. So that's basically a white wine sauce. Easy peasy white wine sauce. Nothing difficult about that. Although difficult if you're making that sauce 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 times in an evening if you're working in a restaurant. Which is what you so much washing up. I don't miss working in restaurants. I don't miss working for other people. There we go. So that's about the right consistency. It needs pureeing and make it nice. So 239, so about 30 grams worth of Bermagné in there. So half that weight will be, a third of that weight will be fat, and 2/3 will be flour. I use more flour in my Bermagné than you're supposed to do. So we want some more in, so that's thick. We now want to another amount of Bermagné to make it as thick as the other sauce we made, probably about that much. You get an eye for things in life. It's going to be a long video, unnecessarily long. You get an eye for how much to add to things. It's like with salt. The more you do it, yeah, it's getting nice and thick for all this, I think. There's still some bits to break down in there. So you get an eye for how much salt to add to things before you even taste. You know, when you get really good at cooking, you can throw salt in and you'll pretty much know without tasting how much it's gonna, what it's gonna taste like. You always double check, but you tend to know, and especially when using vast quantities. I need a little bit more than that. I want it nice and thick. I'll just crumble those so it just goes in a little bit easier. That'll be about right. And how much does that weigh? That weighs 187 grams. So I'll be able to work out the recipe for that. And then we'll just keep whisking around and get thicker and thicker and thicker. So a gentle heat so it won't burn. And then we'll put it in this dish, which I think will be about right. Maybe not actually, maybe a little bit too big. What else have I got? I've got another container. Yes, I've got another container. It's got a ridge on the bottom. I'll have to use that. Alright, turn the heat off that. You don't get fat splitting out of it, which it looks like it's trying to do. Yeah, we don't want to split the sauce, that'll be fine. Where's me? We've got about as thick as it's going to get. That I don't think adding any more Bermagné would make a difference. Now split the sauce. Not split, is that? It's just started to split. That's a bugger. Split the sauce. Let's add some more Bermagné. I might have to do this again. See if we can fix it by making it thicker. Heat off, yeah, turn the heat off. Now I'll split the sauce. I'll have to do it again. But I've got that cream, you see, I can do it again, it's not a problem. Right, so that's not how to make a white wine sauce, but as you can see, it's split. And I don't think putting the blender in there will make a difference. No, let's start to split it. Let's get the hand blender in there and see if we can fix it. I don't think it will. We might just have to abandon this white wine sauce version. I'll have another go off camera. You don't need to see me making it again. But as you can see there, the fat's coming out of it, which will be from the cream. So I'll finish with there. See if we can puree it back in together. Ruined sauce. I don't think we can do it this way. I can't think my way around it. Although, I'm meeting my mum for coffee, so I can have a think while I'm out. Obviously, I'm going to see my mum and talk to her, but in the background, in my head, we can have a little bit of think. But we will just put that in there. Yeah, you can see all the fats come out of it there. We'll just put that in there and kind of see what happens to it. My first head chef Peter will be annoyed with me for doing that. But anyway, yeah, so that sauce is split. Don't think we'll be able to do this. I think we'll have to not make it out of cream, but anyway, not to worry. Right, so this is the split sauce, and we can see that we've got some butter that's split out of it on top. Well, cream, fat. Yeah, well, it's not butter, but it's cream fat. So, although it's set pretty solid as that, can't use it because that fat will melt and can want to make it explode as we deep fry it. So, I thought my way around it, and what we're going to do is, I think the problem was that I cooked it for too long because I added more beurre manier to it. So that probably wouldn't be a problem if I'd have actually made the beurre manier in the actual roux in the pan. But anyway, we're not there, we're here. So I have another half onion, 200 millilitres of wine, 300 millilitres worth of double cream. We boiled that and pureed it. Then what we're going to do is get it back up to temperature, and then we're going to add the roux to it once I've turned off the heat. So hopefully there'll be and I've just warmed the roux, the beurre manier, in the microwave. So hopefully there'll be enough heat in the mixture, and that's already warm, so it should hopefully thicken it instantly, and we won't end up splitting the sauce. So just about coming up to boil, so I've turned the heat off, roux in. Oh, that's very nice. Let's cleaned out that container a lot nicer. So that's that. About 100 grams worth of beurre manier, maybe 109, something like that. And then just a simple case of, alright, so it's thickened it up. There has been enough heat in it. So whiskey. And then hopefully it won't split. So maybe we should put it into a container kind of quite quickly. And then we don't have the heat from the pan causing a problem. So I'm not bothered about if I don't get it all in. I'm just curious about this now. I think this might work. Doesn't look like it's split. Or it doesn't look like it's going to split. I think if I cooked it, if it stayed in the pan any longer, maybe the residual heat of the pan would have made it split. Oh, it's split slightly. It's split slightly already. I can see that some of the butter's coming out of it. Yeah, some of the butter's coming out of it. So, I think this part of the experiment, let's put that pan in the sink. Let's put a bit of beurre manier back in there. So, I don't think we're going to be able to do it with, we might be able to do it with milk, but if we're going to put wine in, we're going to have to reduce that wine down to almost nothing, and maybe not put the onion in. Maybe, so we might be able to get a winey flavour into it, but not, it won't be as rich as I want it to be. But it might still work, We'll give it a go, we'll let that cool down, and then we'll have a go at frying it up later on. Right, so, they're set cold, and I have flour egged and breadcrumbed them, and then egged them, and then breadcrumbed them again. This is the plain one without cheese, so I'm going to cook them in. Not deep fry them as such, but there's plenty of oil in the pan. So, and this is the cheesy one. It's just plain oil, I haven't gone any down the route of olive oil or anything like that. So they just gently want to fry, and then let's give that one a go. I need something that's not going to scratch me tin, aren't I? I'm going to use. I'm just going to get it out of there. I don't really want to use a knife in there. Oh, looks like I'm using a knife. So the fat's come out of it slightly, but we'll just give it a go. I don't think it's probably just not practical, so it's probably not worth doing, but if we're doing an experiment we might as well just have a play around. That's kind of what I think, and that's probably why the idea of doing video, I'm justifying myself here, the idea of working something out off video and then, I'll just cut that rough bit off, and then doing a video like here's one I did earlier, video, do this, do that, then do this, and then this is the result that you get, doesn't really kind of like appeal to me. You know, I'd much rather film it and then kind of just crack on with it and show my workings out type of thing, and show the mistakes or anything like that. I think that's kind of important as well, you know. And it's the process, you know. So I kind of think people get different things from. People look for different things in videos, you know. Some people want to know the process, actually how you do something and why you do something. Oh, I certainly do. And then some people just want to see the results, which is fine. But I think I make videos for me, you know, and what I kind of would want to see. You know, I want to know why you do something, and do you really have to do it? You know, that's kind of quite important to me. So. It's a little bit bigger as that one. Let's wash my hands and we'll see what happens if it all explodes. It explodes, but they look like they're colouring quite nicely to the first two. Which was which, I can't remember. We'll be able to tell when we taste them, won't we? So let's just get a spoon and just push a bit of oil over the top, and then we know that it's sealed it. I suppose these are croquettes of some description. They're holding together, aren't they? So I don't know what kind of use. I suppose it's just a case of what you've, like most things food wise like this, it's a way, it's cheap food and filling. So you kind of, which a lot of food always had to be in the past, that the reason that we eat potatoes is and pasta and rice is to kind of fill people up, so they don't eat as much meat, you know. That's kind of the reason why we've got things, and it's the reason why we've got this as well, you know, like you put things in a pie because you're eating the pastry as well. You have dumplings with things, you know, it's all that way of filling people up. So I suppose all we've really got here is flour, bread, eggs, and milk. Is that it? And a bit of oil. What else did I put in it? Yeah, and some flour and some fat, you know. So we're turning some basic ingredients into something which you would, if you ate that, you'd be kind of quite satisfied after your meal, know that you've had something substantial. So let's get rid of that plate. And let's get another plate and some paper for a good fat. And then we'll be able to look at them and a bit of the taste when they're cooked. But I think they'll be nicer than the ones that the young lad made for me in France. Well, he wasn't. He won't be a young man now. He'll be in his 40s. You know. Right, so let's turn that one over. That's doing okay. Doing okay. Looks like we've got a little bit of seepage. But it's kind of, you know, I mean, essentially it's a thickened sauce, so of course it's going to melt it, you know. we always, my first head chef was, he'd forever take the sauce that he'd made yesterday and then put it in the soup for the next day, just not to waste anything, you know. So, and it melted. You know, you can make a roux-based sauce and remelt it. You know, these are starting to split. It's going to make a mess of the oil. It's that magic temperature where you want to, we are recording, but you want to seal the outside, and by the time the outside is golden, it be warm all the way through, which is always the danger of double egging and breadcrumbing, that you make them a little bit thinner. We probably could do this a little bit thinner, but we'll see. And they might not be completely hot in the middle, but we'll see. So, I don't think we want much longer than that. It'd make a real mess of if we were deep frying it. So that wants a little bit longer, and they want to cool down a little bit. So we'll be back in a little while when they're cooled slightly, because I don't want to burn my mouth. Right, a bit blurry. That might be some fat on the camera lens. Anyway, right. So let's cut into them. I can't remember which one's which, but we'll find out. There we go. Not too bad, does it? It started to melt around the outside. Soft, so it certainly needed double egg and breadcrumbing. That's a blame one. It's alright. It's alright. You know, basically a white sauce, isn't it? A white sauce croquette. So it probably needed the cheese in it, to be honest. Probably needed the cheese. This is obviously the cheesy one then. Yeah, you can see the stringiness of the cheese. It certainly needed cheese in it. Not nice or not. Nicer than the ones I originally had that inspired the idea. And then let's just clean off my knife. And then we get a better idea of this one. Alright. See the fat coming out of it. See the fat in the sauce there. Can you? Ish. You can see the fat in the sauce wanting to come out of that. So we might need to revise that kind of recipe, but it's alright. It's alright, you know. But as you squeeze it, you can see there's pockets of fat. Can you just see that? Yeah. So we'll taste it. Nice though. It's nice though. I wonder if there was some egg in it. I wonder if there was an egg yolk in it. I suppose we could do that. That would enrich it, and it would set it. But I don't think we don't need to put an egg in it. But if we wanted to make it a little bit richer, we certainly could make it richer with an egg yolk in there. But alright. Alright. Kind of do the job of what I thought they were. Probably could do with some other things in them as well. Maybe maybe a bit of spice, maybe some paprika or something like that. But it works. I don't. A little bit impractical. You know, I kind of think you probably No, not really. No, because you'd just make it in a big tray, and then you cut it into portions, and then you do it like that. So it's not that much of a faff. It's only a faff because they did a small amount, but you could do lots, and they'd happily sit in the what we call it, in the fridge, floured, and egg and breadcrumbed, and then you just egg and breadcrumb again, just before you deep fried them. So yeah, nice. I'm going to eat them. A success. The ones made with the sauce, we could probably do better with that. How would I make that? Might just be too much fat. Might be just be too much fat in it because of the double cream. But maybe use less cream. Maybe use half cream, half milk. Maybe. But it's the nicest out of the lot. Be even nice with some cheese in it. But there we go.